Hey guys, it's Terry with Notary to Notary, and in this video, we're gonna talk about what would you do. So I'm gonna give you 5 scenarios that you may experience as a notary public, and I'm gonna give you a few seconds in between each one to figure out what would you do. Little hint, make sure you read your state handbook before we get started. Ready for the first scenario? Okay, scenario number 1. Let's say someone calls you to get a document notarized, and you tell them, of course, and you have them come into your office or you meet with them, and they actually do not have any ID. What would you do? Can you still notarize that document? What was your answer? So now this answer is actually going to vary depending on your state. If the signer does not have government issued ID that's unexpired, you can do one of 2 things. The first thing is only allowed in a few states, so make sure you know your state. You can do what's called a credible witness, okay? And a credible witness can authenticate that person's identity in order to have them sign. Now, if you're in a state that does not have credible witness authority, or the signer does not have a witness that can validate who they are, the only other option you have is personal knowledge. And that means that you as the notary personally know the person before you. And personally known can be debated, but we all have a general understanding you know them. You may have gone to school with them, they may be a family member or whatever the case may be, but you have a personal relationship with that person that you know who they are. If none of those 3 things apply, then you cannot notarize that document. How'd you do? Let's go over scenario number 2. So let's say you're an e-notary. If you're in a state that allows for online notarizations and you are ready to start conducting e-notarizations, you may have marketed online with your website or Google business profile, and someone reaches out to you and says, hey, I need to get a document e-notarized. Can you do that? And you say yes. You may go through your initial screening, asking them what kind of document it is, when do they want to have it done. And then they tell you that the signer actually cannot be on the session live, but they can sign it, record it, show you the video recording with a newspaper in the video so you know what day the document was signed. Would that be enough to confirm that the signer did sign that document and for you to notarize it? How'd you do? So the correct answer is absolutely not. Okay, so no, there is no variation, there is no changing from the law. The law says that whether the notarization is done in person or online, that signer needs to be live in living color, okay? They need to be in front of you. You need to see them. You need to have a conversation with them. Hello, how are you? What's your name? All that good stuff. And then you're able to talk to you and you see them using audio and video communication. So if you had a recording, you can't actually talk to them. And you may say, well, Vanessa, that's pretty weird. Who would do that? I have gotten plenty of requests like that. That just maybe they're out of town or they're just not available at this time. Can we just record them and then you see it later? No, they have to physically be present, whether that's in person or on a video audio communication where you can see them real time and talk to them, okay? All right, let's get into number 3. This is going to be another e-notary question. So let's say you're a commissioned e-notary and you get a phone call from a CEO of a reputable company and they say, we have 10 workers that are in, let's say, Brazil, and they need to get a background check or some other kind of document e-notarized, but they don't have ID. They have no ID and there's no one that can vouch for their identity. Maybe you're even in a state that does not allow credible witnesses, okay? And they say, well, can you still have these documents notarized? The kicker in this is that they offer you to pay you maybe they offer you $1,000 per notarization. So 10 people, $1,000 a pop. So you're going to get paid $10,000 to conduct an e-notarization for a reputable company who says, can you notarize these person's documents without ID? Is there any workaround in this situation? So that was pretty easy. I hope you answered this one right. No, basically. So for the most part, in order to pass an e-notarization identity verification, typically you would go through KBA, knowledge-based authentication. But KBA only pulls US records. So if those 10 signers have never lived in the US, done business in the US, have any kind of US dealings, there's a high possibility they will not be able to pass a KBA because there's no information for the system to pull to even ask the questions to begin with. And you would not, even though I've heard notaries have been doing that, you would not generate your own questions for them to pass. This is something that I've heard has been happening. You do not do that. Okay, so they can't go through KBA. They don't have ID, so you can't run them through ID verification. If you're in a state that allows for credible witness, you could use that. If they have someone who's each of them need their own credible witness that can come on and validate their identity, you could use that. But outside of that, there's really nothing that you can do. And you also want to make sure that credible witness runs through an ID verification and KBA as well, just for that extra security if you're in a state that allows for KBA. The only other thing you can do as of right now is personal knowledge. Now, unless you know all 10 signers, it's not happening. And the reason why I put this in there is because you are going to start seeing, which I've been seeing a lot of, people making these e-notary requests, whether it be for wills, power of attorneys, things like that, and offering a substantial amount of money. And you as a new notary, or maybe business is a little slow for you right now, you may say, hey, that's a nice lot of money. I can just do this one time. It opens you up to one, liability. You can be sued. There can be legal charges pressed against you because you never know what they're going to do with it. And really, you just shouldn't do it because it puts your commission at risk and the general public of whoever they may be trying to fraud. Okay, so just walk away. When it sounds too good to be true, it usually is. Okay, let's move on to number 4. Number 4. Let's say your family now knows that you are a commissioned notary and they are so excited because your grandmother has been wanting to get her will notarized. And so a family member of yours reaches out to you and say, hey, Vanessa, can you notarize grandma's will? Okay. What would you do? Can you notarize grandma's will? Now, this is a loaded question, so let's unpack it, okay? Now, let's say your grandmother loves you and she puts you in her will. She's gonna leave you 2 houses, a car, and $1,000. Guess what? You cannot notarize that will. So as a notary in almost every, if not all states, you cannot notarize a document where you are benefiting from. Even if it's financially or any other type of benefit that you're getting, you cannot notarize it. So in the case of a will where you're being left houses and money, no, you cannot notarize it, okay? But let's say, for example, it's a will and you're not getting anything. Grandma didn't like you and you're not getting anything, not even a pot. In that situation, you can notarize because you are not benefiting in any capacity. However, let's say, for example, grandma's leaving your husband a pot. No, you cannot notarize it, okay? So the main rule of thumb you want to think about is, although many states they do allow for notaries to notarize for a family, you want to make sure that whatever document you're notarizing, you are not benefiting from. If there's any kind of benefit at all, you want to stay away from it, okay? Like, for example, in Virginia, you can notarize for family, for your sister, for cousins, all that good stuff, just not for your spouse. However, if your auntie is maybe she's doing a power of attorney and she's going to make you her attorney, in fact, to manage her health situations, you would be benefiting. You can't do it. So the rule of thumb is know the law for your state. if they limit who you can notarize for when it comes to family and relationships, things like that, then make sure you know what it is for your state. But majorly, you don't notarize anything that you're benefiting from. This is also going to come into play, for example, for the notaries who are also real estate agents, or maybe they're loan officers or anything like that, and you're doing loan closings. If you're the real estate agent or the loan officer on a transaction, you would not notarize that closing because you are benefiting via commission from that closing. Okay, so the rule of thumb is anything that you're benefiting from, you do not notarize. How'd you do? Let's keep going. Number 5. Okay, let's say someone calls you and they say, hey, I would love to get a letter notarized. It's a statement that I've written up. I have my ID. Can I bring the letter into you to have it notarized? What would you do? Can you notarize a handwritten letter? So someone hand wrote a letter and it covers the entire page. Can you notarize a handwritten letter? So yes, okay, so there's no law that states that a document that's being notarized has to be typed up. I don't know where people are getting that from, but the document does not have to be typed. I know we're in 2023 and everything usually is typed, but it's not a requirement. It can be handwritten. It could be on, what do you call that, loose leaf paper? It can be on construction paper, okay? It really doesn't matter. It was written, I don't know if it can be on tablets, like stone tablets, because then how would you, I don't know how that would work. But for the most part, if it's on paper, you can do it. Okay, so the main thing, you would follow the same process. So there's a handwritten letter. They're going to sign the letter in front of you. It's going to have a date. You then can add your notarial section to that document if it's not already there, or you can attach what is called an attachable certificate. And that's basically a document that has all the parts that need to be on a notarial act as per your state guidelines that would go along with that document. So you would do the same process. You would validate identity if they have their ID. Check their ID, make sure it matches with the person that's in front of you, have them sign it, date it, and then you can add your notarial section to that document, or you can add on a notarial attachable certificate to go with it, so that way you can ensure that every stipulation has been met as per your state guidelines. But the one thing that I keep saying, and I want you to really remember this, is you need to know your state law, okay? And your state law first starts off with your state handbook, which is first. There's so many times where I will go out and I will do a training event, I'll do a conference, doesn't matter where I go, if I'm in Virginia, New York, California, Nevada, doesn't really matter. The same thing happens. I'll have a room full of notaries and I'll ask them the same question. Have you read your handbook, right? I'll get a handful of people who raise their hand, and then I'll say all the way through, and then the hands start to drop. And then I'll say, do you remember it? And then everyone's hands is down. Okay, you have to know the law for your state. Asking me, asking the NNA, asking your cousin who's a notary, asking a Facebook group you're a member of, it's not going to protect you, and it's not going to hold up in court. You can't go to court if something happens and say, well, I saw this on Facebook. It's not going to fly. Okay, you need to know the law for your state. You're getting into this business, you're building a business, you are commissioned by your Secretary of State. You are commissioned to hold an office to protect the general public. Okay, you are literally supposed to be protecting the general public. And how are you going to do that if you have not even taken the time to read your state handbook? That's like having like a politician writing up stuff and trying to pass bills, and they don't even know what the laws are. You know, not to say that they all know the laws. Okay, cut that part out. Because now we're going to political debate. Let's not. Okay. But it's really important as a commissioned notary that you know the law for your state. And you start off with your handbook, and then you would then go further and read the actual code. The handbook is where they've taken the code and they make it all pretty and easy to read, and they put it in a handbook. But the code has a lot more information that I promise you is not in your handbook, and we'll go into more detail about specific information that you need to know as a commissioned notary. Okay, so if any of these questions confuse you, if you got any of them wrong, then make sure you go back and read your state handbook so you know what you can do and what you cannot do. Because although I do talk a lot about making money in this space and how lucrative it is, which it is, the only reason that I make so much money in this space is because 1, I know the law, 2, I know how to build a business, and 3, I know how to market. Okay, so those are the 3 things you want to master: the law, business building techniques, and of course, sales and marketing. Because if you can have a great business structure, but if people don't know how to find you, they're not going to call you, right? And you can have people calling you with a great business structure, but if you don't know the law, poor customer service, legal issues, the whole thing falls apart. So there's a lot of things that need to be in place when you talk about building a successful notary business. And that is why I recommend you get into my training at notarytonotary.com. And whether you're commissioned already, if you've been doing some things, if you're new and you're not even commissioned, the ultimate notary training at notarytonotary.com will teach you everything you need to know to get started. So it teaches you general notary work, loan closing, tax financial management, and a little bit of other things too. The main basics that you need to get into the space and become profitable. From there, we go on, of course. We have trainings such as the working with nursing homes and hospitals, how to build business credit. When you start making more money, how to build a signing service. So like you continue to build and grow on your craft. But if you are in this space and you're new, or you're in this space and you're not making money, go to notarytonotary.com and get into the ultimate notary training today and start building through those courses. Go into those courses. If you have questions, reach out to me. I'm always available. I'm always on social media, so you can always find me. And you too can become a 6-figure notary signing agent. Well, 6-figure notary at this point, because we do a lot more than just loan closings, okay? You can absolutely do this. You can make this a profitable business line, but you just have to get the right training and the right resources to be able to support you as you grow and build your notary business. So for more information, you can find me online at notarytonotary.com. And until next time, happy signing.